Now, the UN and several humanitarian aid providers have sharply criticised Israel for blocking aid deliveries to Gaza. The mediators of the Hamas-Israel ceasefire deal, Egypt and Qatar, have accused Israel of violating humanitarian law by using starvation as a weapon. Israel has defended its actions by saying the ceasefire deal expired on Saturday and that Hamas is stealing the aid and supplies and preventing people from accessing them. Instead of continuing with the agreed second phase of the ceasefire, Israel announced a new proposal on Sunday that calls for extending the first phase. Israel has attributed the new proposal to the US envoy to the region, Steve Witkoff.
Israel has accepted President Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff's plan to extend the temporary ceasefire by 50 days. During that time, we can discuss the conditions for a permanent ceasefire that will end the war in Gaza. In Witkoff's plan, half of the hostages would be released right away, and the remaining half would be released if we reach an agreement on a permanent ceasefire. Again, Israel has accepted this plan, I accepted this plan, but so far, Hamas has rejected it.
Let's get more from DW correspondent Tania Krämer in Jerusalem. So, Tania, the UN is accusing Israel of violating humanitarian law, essentially using starvation as a weapon. Where does this leave the peace negotiations?
Well, at the moment, we can only say they're in a limbo and in a very uneasy one. We don't know exactly whether the mediators will get, both sides again to talk to each other indirectly, of course. And, with what Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has now announced over the weekend, and he doubled down again on Sunday night on it, he basically changed the outline of the agreement. This is what Hamas is accusing Israel now of, that there should have been negotiations for the second phase. They should have started a long time ago. They didn't, at least not what we know of. And that Israel is now proposing this new outline to get, first more of the hostages out. And Hamas has said that basically this is blackmail and that they should go back to the original agreement. And that leaves at the moment, of course, all doors open for this situation to deteriorate rather fast.
Right. I mean, Israel is warning of additional consequences if Hamas doesn't accept what it's saying is a US proposal for a ceasefire extension. What do you think they mean by that?
Well, we don't know in details. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has not given any details. He just has indicated there might be more moves to come. And here in the Israeli media, there's some speculation that this is actually a gradual plan of pressure that should pressure Hamas to agree to this new plan. And there has been some talk about, that, for example, power supply could be cut, water, communication, but also that Israel could try to move again or to displace again Palestinians from the north to the south. I mean, we should not forget Israel controls what's going in and out of the Gaza Strip. Now, this has been criticized not only by aid organizations or by the United Nations, also by countries like Egypt and Jordan. And Egypt here is, of course, very important as one of the mediators. They have also put out a statement saying this aid should not be politicized or used as a tool. And of course, over all of this is looming the threat of resuming the war. We've already seen over the weekend more airstrikes, so the situation is very uneasy there for people in Gaza in particular, but also certainly for the hostages there.
And what about people in Israel, Tania? I mean, how are they reacting to these latest developments?
Well, there's a lot of concern about the hostages. For most people, a majority of people wanted to see the second phase, wanted to see the 59 hostages that remain in Gaza. 24 of them are believed to be still alive. And in the past weeks, we've heard from the hostages that were returned, that came back home. They have been talking about the condition of the hostages there in Gaza, saying they do not have any day to spare. They are in very dire in a very dire situation. At the same time, we have on the political level within Netanyahu's cabinet, the far right, but also from his own party and himself also pushing for a resumption of the war. So this at the moment, it is very unclear where this is going.
DW's Tania Krämer in Jerusalem. Tania, thank you.
Now, in Gaza, people are already feeling the consequences of Israel's blocking of aid, which comes during the Muslim holy month of Ramadan.
People here in the northern Gazan city of Jabalia have gathered to collect aid. The food supplies are a lifeline for many. But soon these supplies will be blocked. This fear has gripped the people here.
Suffering will increase after the occupation's decision to close the crossings. Since the beginning of the war, they've been trying to starve us, and we fear the people will starve due to lack of aid and food supplies. People are also afraid of the return of war and to face death again. Isn't it enough that the occupation has killed 50 or 60,000 martyrs so far?
It's the Islamic month of Ramadan, associated with fasting. And soon after the announcement of halting of all aid, people rush to stock up food.
Prices have started to rise in the market now, and people in this blessed month need these food items to meet the needs of their families. The fears are very great, whether in securing people's daily needs or through the return of war. People here who live in destroyed homes do not need this war.
The war has left most of Gaza's surviving population of 2.2 million dependent on international aid. About 608 trucks have been entering Gaza daily since the ceasefire began on January 19, easing fears of famine raised by international experts. But these fears are becoming real again.
We were truly surprised by the Israeli escalation in closing the crossing. We were looking to the UN and international care and America's sponsorship of the ceasefire agreement, hoping it would reach a permanent ceasefire. But we're surprised that this holy month, despite the ongoing siege for 2 years, the situation has returned to last year's Ramadan, when we were under a complete siege.
Anger and despair is engulfing Gaza. People who have already endured displacement, destruction, and the loss of loved ones now fear further devastation.